What is good, everybody? Ian and Ryan here from Truth and Lies.
Hi, I'm Scott from Mescal Kids.
We're here to tell you about the massive Tech House Takeover month here on Sonic Academy.
We'll be diving into all things such as bass lines, vocal chopping, and how to arrange your track from start to finish.
And a walkthrough of our very own track, Action.
To help you on your journey making Tech House bangers, we're launching loads of brand new content, including a brand new pack for Anna 2
and kick presets, along with the brand new Tech House DNA sample pack.
We're also giving you the opportunity to take part in a remix competition where there'll be some awesome prizes up for grabs.
Where you have a chance to win £500,
£500,
and a release on Sonic Academy Records.
So please feel free to keep updated via the site.
And keep up with everything at sonicacademy.com.
We'll see you there.
And yeah, let's get cracking.
Hi folks, and welcome along to another Sonic Academy not live stream. I'm here with Chris.
Hello.
As you may have noticed, this is a pre-recorded show. We had a bit of an issue doing the live stream, so we decided to just get it pre-recorded for you guys and do some track feedback. How are you, Chris? What have you been up to?
I'm good. I'm enjoying this very sunny weather. I hope you all can hear my dog barking at nothing outside. Yeah, I'm enjoying lovely warm weather. It looks much sunnier in my studio than in yours.
Yes.
You're all very dark.
Yeah, I have some of my lights covered just because you can't see the screen sometimes. So, but yes, we have a few remixes in that we'll go through, give some feedback, and yeah.
So I think general consensus with the tech house, it's a really hard genre, turns out, in that there's not loads you can do, I don't think.
No.
Once you get the drum loop in, a bit of a bouncy bass line, chopped up vocal.
I think, I mean, you've obviously come across this before where, you've been given a remix parts, and you have to do something and you don't really know where to go with it. I know I have on many occasions just thought, I mean, if I can't do anything with this other than what the original track was, so you sort of have to try and figure out a different vibe. I think one of the remixes I think is really good. It sort of just slows the vibe right down, and goes for a sort of more techie edge. I think that is a good way to approach it if you're struggling, is just sort of shift the genre to the left or right a bit. Either go a bit harder or a bit.
Can I ask a question?
You may.
When you were remixing, did you ever say, yes, we'll do that remix, and then get into it and turn around and go, do you know what, I actually can't do that remix? Do you ever have to turn a remix down afterwards?
I've certainly felt that way, but I've never actually fully...
The money was always too tempting.
Fully given in. Although, I mean, we did... notable remix mistakes was Castles in the Sky.
And that's not on that was just a pure sort of... what's the word I'm looking for? Integrity.
Yeah, well, it was foolish. We sort of did this like.
Why was it foolish?
I think at the time, rather than leaning into our trance roots, we were sort of, the likes of Underworld and Chemical Brothers had sort of caught our eye, and I think we were trying to be cooler than we were. And
dude, I did exactly the same. I got fully into Chemical Brothers and absolutely took a left turn. I'm sure Robbie was sitting in the studio going, "What is he fucking doing?" Like,
it was the worst idea ever. I mean, we really should have just leaned into the trance stuff, because that's what we were good at, and that's what we were sort of known for. But yeah, Castles in the Sky. We did two remixes for them. Castles in the Sky and Will I think was their second single. And I actually really liked the second, the Will I remix we did. It was like almost insane thinking back, but it was like a Satoshi Tomy type, like
Ian Van Dahl meets Satoshi Tomy.
It's a really good remix. Go and listen to the remix. It's a really, I think it was Ian Van Dahl, Will I? It was on Dave Pearce's label anyway. Right. I'm surprised he gave us a second one after we did the Ian Van Dahl one. But I think what had we done before? We did 4 strings before that. And that was a sort of quite coast to coasty one. We'd done the Bryan Adams one, which I completely forgot about until you.
Which I sent you, and you were like, "Who did this remix?" I was like, "You did it."
Yeah, I really like that actually. I remember it came fun back. I remember doing that, and that was one of the remixes where it was like, how do you because the stabs in that were so integral to the sort of song, so you couldn't really take them out. Although I think you did take them out in your mix. You sort of.
I did. I completely stripped everything out except the vocal.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love my remix. It was kind of very much Gabriel and Dresden inspired, sort of build up. It was very dark and claustrophobic. And I found the vocal very but it was very hard to work the vocal.
Yeah. And it was weird chords or something. I can't remember. It was something weird about it. But yeah, so I think we used the riff, but then just tried to sort of beef it up around it. And I think we even used the structure and everything. Just tried. I think any of the negative comments were it just sounds like the original, but with a different kick sort of thing. But that was sort of, we were just trying to get it a bit clubbier or something that we could actually fit into our sets at the time. So yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of remixes we did that you just like, but you have to go and listen to Castles in the Sky one. It's such a bad remix. It's the worst. It's the worst thing I've ever done in my life. All we had to do, big massive kick, really good RP bass. It had the ARP and all there. Maybe use the vocal a wee bit less. Big breakdown. No, we completely.
You thought, I know, Chemical Brothers.
It's way worse than that. It wasn't even Chemical Brothers. It's the worst remix I've ever done. Do you know the other thing was? We just moved studios. That was just when we moved, and it was the first project we did in our new studio. I got rid of all the good synths.
Yeah, okay.
And so we were trying to. I had the like Varus internal on the TC Power Core, and I had like Vanguard and a couple of other things. And I thought we could totally do this in the box. And at the time, there's just no chance. And the only other decent synth I had at the time was that Waldorf Pulse, the Waldorf Q, the mini Q.
The Q, yeah.
Such a terrible synth. I was trying to get sounds out of that, and there was like the most interesting sounds were like weird.
That's all. I when you said the Waldorf Q, I can only remember using it on one track that was never released, and the only noise I could get out of it was this sort of weird.
Yeah, it was a couple of interesting stabby
else
sounds or something, RP stabby things that I think I used, and that was all over that like awful In Vandal remix that we did. It was so bad.
I must call up my Discogs and because I forget half the remixes I did. I never felt comfortable with remixes. I never felt it was good at it. I suppose.
Yeah.
I did love the Bryan Adams Don't Give Up one and a few other.
I suppose at that time I'd been doing a lot more sort of ghost producing and producing for DJs and stuff than you had, so I was happy enough to do. I think because of the way our contracts worked out, we ended up in limbo for a year, and we just spent a whole year just doing remixes.
Loads of everyone around me was remixing. I never felt great at it, So
yeah.
So I'm sure I've got really, really bad remixes out there that people go, do you remember you did this one? I'm like, Lange, Follow Me.
You never did a remix of any of our tracks, Chris.
No, I don't think it was asked, was I?
Yeah, it would have been, yeah.
Well, I don't think it was. No, nobody asked me.
Yeah.
Did we ask you?
I did. Every day, didn't I? Did two everyday remixes.
Oh yeah, you did the Alex Gold mix, which was you, and you did a chill out. Yeah, so you did it twice.
Yeah.
So there you go. No, you never asked us.
I'm pretty sure we did. It
still hurts.
All right, let's listen to some other people's remixes. Okay, so let's. Who do you want to listen to first?
You just pick the first one. Whatever.
Let's go Avant-Garde. I thought this was.
This is the more down tempo one.
More down tempo one, yeah.
So you liked this because it was a kind of new take. It wasn't. It was a different sort of angle. Something interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. Doesn't look like it's mastered. It's quite low level in the waveform.
And we do understand that these are demos and stuff, so we're not being overly critical at this stage.
Nice vibe, sort of more progressive-y.
Mm-hmm.
Would this fit into any sort of the stuff you would listen to, mixes? what would it need to sort of fit into that? Because it is that sort of progressive genre, I would say, is it more progressive than tech?
So it needs, that's nice. It's getting a bit muddy there with sort of the kick and that. So just a bit of separation.
I would bring that down a tiny bit.
Yeah. And more, something in the top end, a bit more of a really hard off or open hat, and some light 16ths.
You could definitely have there's like percussion in the original that would sort of, you could, filter that about.
Bring the vocal up.
Yeah, it's quite low there, isn't it?
So, we've always talked about the actors on the stage. The biggest actor is the bass. That sort of lately bass is very much front.
Yeah, and I think you'd want a delay on the end of this or something, or a sweep or some sort of fill or. How do you progress this on from this point, Chris?
So again, I would introduce a more accented hat.
Oh, here we go. I really like that riff, the use of that riff.
Again, bring that out. Love that.
Thing that I think we both used to do quite a lot in our tracks was have like a what's that is progressing quite well. I really like that riff.
There's another one creeping in. Yes. I would use that a bit more sparingly. It just needs a few more layers of percussion happening here, and this is all building very nicely.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, you could be a bit more sparse with that 303 and maybe just have it as an accent at the end of the bar.
Yeah.
I was saying about I'm not sure if you did it as much as me, but a lot of times in tracks to just sort of increase energy, I would just be modulating the feedback on a delay. So you're just having, you almost don't hear it, but it just feels like energy is building.
I mean, Logic had a tape delay, and I can still remember 56% of the feedback, and would start feedbacking on itself.
Yeah.
And you could just sort of modulate that, and you would get
bring
these
it up.
sort of...
You just get a bit more wall of sound, and you can make it quite spacey, put it through a reverb, and you just get this sort of atmosphere that's building that maybe doesn't do it. And you could sidechain it as well to the kick and get it.
And you're doing third notes rather than quarter notes, doing a third, so it's just slightly a bit more. So that's exactly it. And just so it's more interesting, and as you say, claustrophobic. And then you're just sitting. That was the bit that I loved about production. That was when all the production was done, and you're going, right, let's get into the
ear candies and
you're just tweaking, going,
just getting those wee fills right and just different wee bits and
you're playing it to your wife or girlfriend. You're going, can you hear that? And they're going, no, not really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it only mattered the other producers. I went through my BT chop phase where I was obsessed with resampling the track and cutting it up. And remember there was the GRM tools.
Yeah.
And we used to put it through that. It was like one of the first bit crushers, and it had this like weird, like great granular sort of effect as well. You could and
the Doppler effect on it, and when we worked out how to do that, me and you were feeding the whole track back in, chopping it all up every sort of quarter beat, and then effect on different, and then repeating some of the kicks and doing all those sort of things.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff you would do in what's Isotopes Break Tweaker.
Yeah.
No, it's not Break Tweaker, it's the other one. Stutter Edit.
Stutter Edit, it was all we did all
stuff
manually.
Like that. It was all manually done. Okay, let's go for Magnus.
So instant tech house vibes to me.
Yeah, it's there's a lot going on. I love that bass line. Do you need that volume of like things happening? I mean, I'd really love to hear that, that bass line. I mean, I think that sort of chaos stuff, You could use it for breaks and stuff, but you sort of want to drop out into the groove and the kicks and stuff.
Yeah, it just sounds a bit dissonant to me.
See, I don't mind dissonance if it's if the dissonance is as part of a breakdown where you're sort of building tension. As long as you release that tension, I think you're okay.
The bass line starts bringing my headphones here.
Yeah.
Can we see James Hype on the knobs? Open that acid up, get the acid, blurping yerping.
So it's
strange because there was this sort of riser happening.
Yeah, and then it just kicks in. I thought that was strange, but I thought it also almost works. But I think that sort of works, but you would need at this point then a breakdown and then.
Yeah, but the riser needs to stop. The riser continues on.
So it needs. I think you need a breakdown there, and then you can sort of drop a few things out, and then.
Yeah, no, it just this sort of riser happened. The kick come in, which is fine, and you could have maybe a snare roll, as you say, a one bar or 2 bar sort of flourish, and then in with the bass line. But the bass line just to come in out of nowhere with no sort of signpost.
Yeah, I think. I mean, the thing about it is the bass line is so strong. I think it could carry a lot
on its own.
Absolutely. That whole first section, I do like the sounds that are there, like that sort of crazy vocal thing, but I think it just needs to be used slightly more sparingly.
Yeah, it's all a bit untamed. My only thing, I think, it sounds a bit like disparate stuff has been thrown together without kind of do they work together? And yes, I understand on breakdowns dissonance can work and stuff. It just seems a little bit chaotic.
Yeah.
And
if
maybe
if I was getting rid of one thing, it would be the stabs that come in.
That?
Yeah. I think those sort of talky vocal things work well. But I think again, you don't need them in all the time. That could be something you use to sort of create chaos before a break. Love the sound of that, riser thing, and the way it goes up and dips down a wee bit. I think that all works really well. But sorry, go ahead.
Go.
Okay, no, just either you need a more solid break there and bring everything in, or if you want to continue that on, which I think is a bit weird, but I think it sort of you can get away with it if you do something at the end. I think you need to split here and before the bass line comes back in and do something. Just randomly bringing the bass in, it doesn't work for me. I think you need it, as you say, signposted or.
I think you've got foundations of something really good there.
Yeah, I think the bass line is capable of carrying it. So it sits in a really nice register.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
the kick and the
bass are working really well together. Yeah, I think the drums are fine too. But yeah, we need. I think I would be happy to hear a bit more of that strip out. I think that kick, bass, percussion, and then a bit of the vocals in here there. I would probably just ditch the stabs altogether. Maybe find something that's less atonal, something that sort of fits in with the key of the track a bit better.
Brilliant. Thank you for posting on Discord and getting involved.
Yep, good one. Especially the bass line. Love it.
Next up, we have
Free Thinkers.
Nice groove.
Bass isn't maybe coming through there enough.
It's a bit static. Your drums are very groovy and the bass is a bit static.
What do you think about that? Bassline shifting.
It's a nice part, but it's sluggish or something, is it? It's sort of holding the groove up. And how would you get that to feel more pacey, more embedded?
I would drop the note down. I mean,
so you just keep it looping around the one note?
I think, yeah. But honestly, if it was my track, I would just pull that out completely and go for something different.
Different?
Yeah.
Do you think the percussion wise and stuff, it feels all good. The first bass line that came in felt like a trancey bass line against sort of house drums. You know, that's like a bass track. It doesn't feel groovy. Like your drums and all are very housey.
It sounds like it wants to be a 303. Sounds like it wants to be a 303, but like not a very good 303. So I would either, lean more into the 303, because I think 303s are quite common in that sort of genre. But again, it's a bit cliched as well, even though I think it's used in the original. But I think you have to sort of use it at the right parts. I don't think you would ever want a 303 in at the beginning of a track, really, would you? Unless it's just a womp womp.
How were you at bass lines?
What?
How were you at bass lines? Were you good at bass lines?
I was pretty good at bass lines, yeah.
I was a disaster. I would like come in every morning and just go, the bass line's not working, and rebuild. Come in the next day, it's still not working, and I could never. Sometimes you just can't get it in the pocket and just get it to sort of sit and go. This is now propelling the track forward and driving it.
I would have spent an awful lot of time on bass lines to try and get them right, but I sort of was always knew that I would get there eventually. I think.
I never knew we'd get there eventually.
you were quite. A lot of your bass lines were offbeat. I was more of a proggy approach, I suppose. Yeah.
I never wanted to use the offbeat, but then as soon as you put the offbeat in, you went, yeah, this drives the track forward. It's just like, it's like this is the energy that it needed. And
I mean, there's a lot of really good bass lines in the Anna pack.
Yeah,
I can kind of fire that up.
And there's a Tech House pack that you might get some bass lines in, and the Anna too. Yeah, Tech House.
Where are we? Tech House.
Have you got it installed?
Have I got it installed? That's a good question. Volume 20 Tech House.
Yeah, that's the one.
Go
to your little bass category tab.
I did that. Let's see. They're very 808-y.
Yeah. Cunningly named 808.
I'm pretty sure I did a bunch. Was it for this pack? Is this the pack? Is this my stuff in it as well?
I don't know. Lots of basses.
I did send you the basses.
What?
I did send you a bunch of basses.
Do you not recognize? Go to your author tabs.
Yeah, let me. Well, you're expecting me to write my own stuff in?
Yeah, we do it.
Let me see. Author tab.
Billy J.
Basses.
There you go.
Um,
This is all the bases you've ever made.
I know it is, but I thought it would be in there because it was like 4 of them together. No, I think they were under like Tech House TH maybe. Oh, here we go. Is this it? No, it's from the other Tech House pack. Yeah, maybe forgot to send you them.
Let me just check this end.
How do you get to user presets again? Oh, there we go. Bass. Drum and bass. Oh yeah, there we go. These ones.
If these aren't in the pack, I think we should drop them into the chat.
Yeah, can do that. We only did one Tech House preset pack, didn't we?
Yeah.
So a lot of those were based off the playlist. So I just sort of copied a couple of the basses and changed them about a bit and whatnot. So but that might fit in, you know, something a bit. I think.
Bounce-shear.
Yeah, I think Magnus's bass line, that sort of dubby thing. Again, it depends what sort of direction you're going, but I think this definitely needs a slightly stronger bass line.
Who's next?
I haven't really listened to the middle of this. Just want to check it out.
All the vocal effects and stuff are great.
Yeah. Still sounds a kind of tiny bit disjointed, whether it's the rhythms of things. I mean, it sounds...
That fill nearly worked, but I felt it tripped up over itself a little bit.
When you were doing like quantizing, would you have kept, if you were doing a triplet thing, would you have kept everything bang on that triplet, or would you have different things at different like shuffles?
No, different things at different shuffles, to be honest, to keep it a bit loose as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, just sometimes to give you interesting. Were you very strict in?
Generally, my rule of thumb was if I was doing.
You were much funkier than me, groovier than me.
Yeah,
I was much more straight.
I would almost have had a thing where the lower end of stuff I would have tried to keep a tiny bit straighter than the top end. So like hats and stuff would have been a lot skippier maybe than the bass, and sort of I would have maybe moved up. But yeah, it sounds to me like there's a couple of, whether it's loops or something, there's like different shuffle vibes going on there, or delays or something that aren't in.
When it was.
Maybe just that lead sound on top that it doesn't sound like
there's a great thing in Logic. You can set, you sort of star one track and that becomes your master groove track, and then you can tick other tracks and those tracks then quantize.
Yeah,
to that. It was a really cool idea. But
I always remember back to what was the track, Rita Silva, Touch Me, and how completely out of time that was. Just in terms of some, like the elements of it, it was like a lot of shuffling in certain bits and not in other bits. I always find that. I always remember listening to it thinking, how are you getting away with like his track being so like loose?
Yeah.
But I mean, it does work. It gives you an atmosphere. But again, coming from a producer perspective, it sort of shocked me a tiny bit.
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to Jay Dilla's stuff, it's all off the grid and
Yeah.
very off the grid and purposely off the grid. I didn't really understand groove as a very young producer.
Yeah.
I always thought, oh, it's out of time, so I have to put it on the grid. Otherwise, I didn't understand groove. Nobody told me that groove is off the grid and you push
Yeah,
things.
it's another way to impart feeling in a track by pushing things forward or making things lazier sounding. I don't think it. I mean, it's obviously a lot more apparent in
house.
Either house or I was going to say like R&B and rap and stuff where
Yeah.
there's a lot more that goes on. I don't know, dance. I think I'd be still quite worried to push too many things out of whack.
Yeah, because I would use the Logic quantize of what was it,
16B.
And you would try C and you go, oh, too much, too swingy, because especially in trance, if it got too swingy, it felt weird.
Yeah, you lose sort of the drivingness.
Yeah.
Okay, so this part of the track, I want you to just have a quick listen and then give me a 10 seconds of all the things you would change, what you would do, mix-wise, sound-wise, everything. This is the core bit of the track. It's on your desk. What are you changing?
Right, there's something not driving the propelling the track forward. It feels stuttered. It feels sort of that. So I'd take out the bass. The first thing I would have replaced there is the bass line, trying to get something more to try and push it
something
forward.
Something dancier.
Yeah. Something just, it can still be groovy, it can still be funky, but just a bit more repetitive. It's doom. It's a bit sort of sluggish and jazz loungy. I would take out that. I think I'm taking that harp, that stab out, and maybe looking at a more tech housey stab in there, down, and playing that off the bass line, and just.
So one of those sort of like there might almost like plucky but acidy sort of sounds.
I'm thinking even more of that sort of Detroit's piano, the sort of very famous Detroit stabby type sort of down, and then maybe compressing those and maybe getting some sort of sucky reverb going. So it's starting to play. You're starting to work the rhythms. You're starting to get it to interplay with the percussion stuff to try and get everything to sort of move and drive.
Yeah.
Everything. You have to drive the body. You have to drive the mind to go. Yeah, this is this is funky.
Let's have a listen to the drums. The drums sound to me, and this is something that I always struggled with. It sounds like individual hi-hat samples programmed
rather than a kit,
rather than a loop.
Right.
And when we're doing a lot of our sort of sample creation for loops and stuff, it can be really difficult. Say you sample a loop from a track, and then you try and recreate the loop. There's a missing element between that loop thing and the created loop, and a lot of it's to do with that sort of like compression and interplay between the different parts.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can definitely overdo it, but I think as well that having that 909 hi-hat that's in there, it's just a completely loose 909 hi-hat with no, like, it's not gated or anything.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't sound very tech house. That sounds a bit more sort of old school 90s sort of vibe rather than. I think especially with the tech house stuff now, the hi-hats are quite short.
And what about
I think they're short because a lot of them would be going.
Would you insert a clap or a snare in there?
Is there not a snare?
It's very low.
There's a snare in there. Again, we did a lot of work on the sample packs to get very on the money loops. Hi-hat loops and the clap loops and stuff are very much in that genre. So I mean, have a listen to the demo, I guess.
Yeah.
But the overriding factor with all those when I was creating them and when Timmy was doing it was the sharper. When we do the sample packs, we really analyze the 30 tracks that are in the playlist, and the thing that kept coming back was that the hi-hats were all really sharp and all quite short. And again, that because there's a lot of hi-hat action, whereas in a trance track it would just be, but in these there's, there's quite a lot of rhythmical action going on. So I mean, maybe look at that. And I can hear hi-hats and stuff, close hi-hats and stuff going in there, creating that rhythm. But I think you then maybe need to gate your 909 to make it a bit more funky.
And I used to always lots of times pull faders and sort of rebalance things and see if you can get the interplay a little bit better, and sort of you're turning things up and down just to see what works against. Is there some element that is going to help me propel further?
Yeah. How often were you a zero your mix guy?
Quite often.
Yeah.
Quite often.
Just pull everything back, start from scratch.
Just if I was getting frustrated with the mix, it was just like, right, just let's rebuild this, and always, let's see what's working. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's buried, and that's really good, and that's too loud. Don't need that anymore. And it can just give you a different perspective.
Yeah, especially if you've started off at the start of a track and had your levels balanced there, and then as you add more stuff, the balance needs to change. So maybe you maybe start at the big section of your track and then start trying to bring everything back up again. So you're sort of because your clap is getting lost, but maybe on a it shouldn't be getting lost. So maybe that needs to be louder there. Or it needs to be pokier, or a bit more.
And it also gives you, pulling a good few elements away can let you hear, oh, this is what the actual reverb I'm working with, rather than this sort of, it gets so buried with so much stuff going on. So yeah.
And again, we're always talking about that thing of, what are your main actors? Who's the star of the show, sort of thing, So you need to always be thinking about that. That currently that stab is taking over quite a lot, whereas I see that more as an effecty sound rather than a lead sound.
Yeah. That's a chorus player in the back.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go on to our fourth one.
So that sort of definitive tech house loop, nice ear candy. This is Pink, Mr. Pink Pamplemousse.
It is indeed, yeah. If you listen to the clap in this track compared to the last one, very upfront. I think that is part of the genre.
And there was just like a little alarm, just come in as a fill. It's not being overused. And he's building. It feels like there's tension coming. You're building something. Nice. Nice.
It's a nice release from that vocally section. And I'll just pause it there for a second. It's the first remix out of the three where sounds are being called and answered and moved about, whereas the other all three of the other remixes, once a sound came in, that was it, just on 100% of the time. I think that's a really good example of using one bar one a different sound to bar three, the next two bars using another thing again, but then have a callback sort of thing, so you're
production wise, it really elevates it. Just sounds more professional, it just sounds more thought out. It sounds right, this is an elevated track.
Yeah, and that there is a limit to that, because if you do it too sporadically or too randomly, it just becomes random. But as long as there's callbacks to sort of like one of the elements or other of the elements, I think it.
Love the claps.
Here we go with a 303. Not sure about that sound.
That was a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, this it sounds. It's very on the beat, isn't it? Maybe it's a weird sound as well as being on the beat, and it's not quite syncopated, so it's not like giving the same groove as the rest of the track.
Yeah, need something to cut through there, a bit more attacky and a bit more staccato.
Is it sounds like it's maybe part of the vocal it's been affected or done something?
It's some very highly processed.
Catch me slipping on down in this maze of distant chaos. Catch me slipping. Catch me slipping. Catch me slipping. Catch me slipping on down in this maze of distant chaos.
Really good. I'd love to hear some big chords in there.
Catch me slipping.
Like justice, like a sort of justice. Love it. You think it needs something else in there?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. The sort of the vocals fill in the space of
The stab.
the stab, and then the 303 you've got run along. It's a tricky one. A lot of the elements are really, really very good, but it's how to
Extract the most out of them all.
yeah. I mean,
I like the breakdown. I'd love to hear some sort of Justicey style, those sort of back chords that they would do, and maybe that then could lead on. That second section, it felt a little bit like I've run out of an idea here. I've run out of a riff, a hook. There was no hook in that section for me.
yeah. I mean, from a DJing perspective, I'm not sure where that track fits in for me. It's sort of a bit outside the tech house thing. I don't think you would hear it in a tech house set, is it? It's a bit too synthy or something, and
I don't know. I'm not. I mean, I'm not hugely embedded in the tech house scene, so I'm not.
yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you could hear it.
Yeah, no, it maybe does work.
Okay. So I think that's
there's a lot of stuff going on there in that track, just in terms of like changes. One thing I noticed a lot when I was, putting the playlist together, there was the breaks came a lot quicker, and there was always like a callback to a previous part. It was almost quite verse chorusy in a lot of ways, where this seems to, I suppose that does reflect this, but yeah, no, it works.
And maybe get that electric piano they had in earlier back in or something. But again, a really, really top solid effort from Mr. Pink Pamplemousse.
Yeah. I think that's us, is it?
It is, yes. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope
let us know. Let us know what you think of the pre-recorded versus the live show. I know it's maybe easier for people to just watch it at their leisure.
Yeah, especially on a lovely summer's evening as it is tonight. We are on Discord. We will be on Discord tonight on our phones, I'm sure. And so if you have any other questions, please hit us up there. Hope that advice was useful, and we'll see you all very, very